Welcome back to Yerushalmi Yoma. We're back to have our dear friend Ramendel back from America over Sukkot. We're beautiful that he's the one who helps with all that IT of our shiurim. We're grateful he's back, and he should have much success. We are Maikadun, which is on Yud Beis Amud Aleph. So the last thing we're talking about is doing Haktorah of the Kometz, the fistful, with the left hand, to do with avodah with the left hand. So Rabbanan de Islachu. So what are we up to? Maikadun. Rabbanan de Isla, to the Rachachamim will hold that, look, a kometz, a fistful, has to go in a klishares. Srichin la liyumin. They require the avodah has to be done with the right hand. However, Rav Shimon de Lesle, he doesn't hold that the fistful has to go in a klishares on the way to the mizbeach. Lo srichin la liyumin. He does not require the avodah to be done with the right hand. Now, we're talking about Truas Hadeshen, and we're talking about putting a fistful, right? Truas Hadeshen with the left hand, the ashes, the clearing of the ashes, and the fistful with the left. So why are we depending one on the other? How is it that Chachamim are comparing a din of Truas Hadeshen to putting a fistful on the Mizbech, like Torah? The truth is they're not the same. Now, if you're going to compare something, Truas Hadeshen is like the act of taking the fistful. You're separating an element out of it. You understand? Not putting it on the mizbeach, but separating the fistful out. If you are going to compare them, shazuba haroma. So the Truas Hadeshen is done by separating the ashes, which is left over from all the burning karbonas. Bezuba haroma. And the fistful is also done separating the fistful from a mincha. But putting the fistful is another type of avodah. So therefore, the Truas Hadeshen should definitely be in the right hand. Just like everyone agrees, the fistful has to be done with the right hand side. So it's a very good question. We don't actually have an answer. Now, back to the mitzvah of separating these ashes every morning, yeah? The Herim, as we were saying, this is one of the first things that was done. The Herim, you lift up the ashes, the Herim ela b'shashiyah. So the idea is you're going to leave some behind. So you don't take everything. Now it says, Asher toichal, which the fire consumes. Ein achila ela v'kazayis. We're talking about kazayis, the shev kazayis. So the shev of Truas Hadeshen, you have to have at least a kazayis of ashes that you pick up. Now, what do? Hoya b'kula, if the whole ashes was a kazayis. On the one hand, you're meant to take a kazayis out. On the other hand, you're meant to leave some behind. So what do? Lita miksasa einad yachol. Just to take part of it, you can't. Shayin b'kazayis, no kazayis there. Lita is good. You can take the whole thing, you can't. Einad yachol. Shayin kanshi, you're not leaving anything behind. Again, very good question. We have no answer. The Kovetz Mincha asks, the Minchas Chinuch asks, why is this not brought in the Bavli? See, there are things the Bavli doesn't bring. Bavli's got so much kachim, doesn't bring it. Anyway, the Herim. Then we bring a brisa, which talks about another drasha from this pasuk. You'll lift up the ashes which the fire has burnt. Herim ashetechal aish. Yachal, I might think that you can lift the ashes which are formed eitzim from the wood of the pile of the maracha. Talmud Loma, no, ha'ayla is that with the ashes from the karbonas. Ha'ayla, but then yachal, I might think even limbs of an ayla which are not yet fully burnt. Talmud Loma sheteichal ha'esh is going to be consumed by the fire. Okay, so how do you understand this? You take from the coals of the sort of burnt coals, hapanimios, the ones in the middle of the fire, the yored, and then you come down from the mizbeach. Yeah? Take the ashes which are completely burnt, which have become like ash. Yeah, that's what you have to take from. Okay. We've learned in a brisa. Mitzvah lahagdim eish la'etzim. It's the mitzvah first to put the fire on the mizbeach for the wood. So what is this? It's arranging the maracha, right, on the mizbeach, arranging the wood and everything on the mizbeach. So you want to put the wood, shneim va'ocha eitzim ala eish, eitzim la'eish. So the fire's there anyway, and you're bringing wood to the fire which is already on the mizbeach. Okay. Some say you have to have wood before the fire. And the question, if you put the wood to light the fire, what should you do? Should you light the fire while the wood is still there, or remove the wood, light the fire? All right. Siddur ad shalai tarab. If you arrange the maracha before you removed the ashes, what's the din? Do you have to sort of remove the new wood and go and do it after you remove the ashes? Or you can lift the ashes away even without removing the new wood. Mashchil v'tarem. If you can sort of, if you can sort of weave in and out between the wood to reach the bottom to get the ashes, and then you can do that. But if you can't, then Mefarik Return, then you'll have to remove the wood and take the ashes out, and afterwards put the wood back. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Omar, Chilveshul, Chilvas, Kometz, Shanasni Al Gabe Mareches Laila. Right. So you put a fistful, but you put it on like the wood that was burning from the last night, where you've not yet removed the wood of that day. Mahim, what's the din? So you sort of put it on like last night's wood that's burning away. Right, a fistful. You didn't put it on the day. You've not yet removed it. What's the din? Rabbi Yirmiyah, he asked, Imarin, like limbs, shenasnan al gabe mareches laila. You put them on yesterday's, like mareches, which has been going all night long. Mine, what's the din? Now, isn't it a suffix here? Have we not learned in the following brisa? Ein lecha kodem letamid shel shachar. Nothing comes before the tamid of the morning. Ela keteres bevad, except the keteres. So the tamid shel shachar, you're going to have the new maracha, the new wood and everything. So therefore, we should passel any fistfuls which are done on the night before, because they've come before the tamid. How can they come first before the tamid of the morning? Nothing comes before the tamid of the morning. Yeah, I mean the tamid is on the new wood. So how can you put the keteres, the fistful, on the old wood? So the Gemara pushes away. He says doesn't mean masnisa. The brisa which says don't bring things before the time in the morning, that's the mitzvah ideally. But yeah, but it would be valid. The question was like this: le'ikuv, is it essential? So avoid on the new wood every day. Is that essential? You have to bring on every day, that maracha, that setup that was done today. Or maybe you can bring today things on the maracha which was there from the day before. A very good question. I'm afraid the Gemara does not answer the question. So is this ketara, the hagtara, this fistful, is it kosher b'di'eved? You can leave it there on the maracha. Or maybe it's possible. So the mincha that you took that fistful for, maybe it's possible. The murin, maybe you have to remove the new wood, which is not yet burnt, to put it back after you've arranged it and you bring the tamid offering. Okay, back to washing your hands and feet. Okay, we're talking about hands that were defiled after you wash them. Sitz, ma'ashi yiratzeh. Will a sitz appease for a Kohen who's tameh his hands with tumas yadayim, that he won't have to go and sanctify them again after he's retire them from the tumah? So does the sitz help for anything that happened while the Kohen's hands were tameh? Okay, that's the question. It says the sitz should be on the forehead of Aaron, and he carries the sin of kodshim. Yeah, and you can't bring things which are tameh, but the sitz is meratzah. But the sitz carries the sin, as it were. Yeah, when things are tameh. So here he washed his hands and feet to do the avodah. His hands became tameh. Let's say rabbinical tumah. Right, he touched, let's say, pigul or nosar or whatever it is, but not the rest of his body. So this tumah of the hands of the Kohen puzzles the holiness, and the suffix is the sitz able to prevent the kiddush, to help the sanctifying of his hands. The sitz will cause that these blood murim and things will still be accepted above. You understand? So that's the question. Maybe the sitz is meratzeh on the hands of the Kohen that are tameh. And then yadayim ma'ashi paslum v'shum yaitse. Let's say he washed his hands and legs, and after that he left the Beis Mikdash. So now, does that washing that he did become pasul, because he's taken his mind off the avodah now, and when he comes back he has to wash his hands again? Or maybe it's not. Well, is it not mafurish in the brisa? Kiddush yadav v'raglav, if he sanctified his hands and feet, and then nitzmu, his hands were tameh, matzbilan, he puts them, he's matayah them from the tumah, but they become tahor. He doesn't have to go and wash them again, because it's not removed. The kiddush is not removed at the time of his tumah. And yasa, if he went out, no, his hands and legs do not become tameh for leaving. Right? We're not mevatel the sanctification he did before. He doesn't have to do it again. So you see that it seems it's fine. He's gone out. It's not a problem. But the Gemara says no. Maybe this price is like the one who says, as Rav Shimon, ein halina poseles, that also overnight does not passel the washing of your hands, your daim. And just like overnight doesn't passel the kiddush, so also going out doesn't passel it. But who is the question according to the other opinion? The one who says overnight it does puzzle your hands and feet, and you'll have to wash again. So do we say the same thing with leaving and Beis Mikdash? Same din applies. Or maybe although overnight it puzzles, but maybe leaving does not puzzle because you can come back whenever you want. As per Solina, leaving overnight, maybe it's different. So again, very good question. The Gemara does not answer it. Now, if you're going to tell me leaving your hands overnight doesn't puzzle the washing of hands that you did, Yadayim, what happens if you washed your hands in the middle of the night for the avodah of the following day? Now, maybe it should become puzzle. It's done prematurely. Maybe the sanctification, the washing is not going to help. It wasn't done for the avodah at that time, right? It was done in the middle of the night. Now, why have you got a question? Surely it's not mefurish in the brisa, isn't it? Isn't it in the brisa? A kohen who's kiddush yadav v'raglov hayom. He washes his hands today. La avodah shamacha, for tomorrow's work. It's okay. So kiddush yadayim raglaim helps even when it's not done for the avodah at that time. It's like a few hours later. It's fine. Now the Gemara mentions machlekes Rebbe and Elazar of Shimon. If kiddush yadayim raglaim is puzzled overnight, and the Gemara brings machlekes Amoraim connected with this. Rav Yochanan trumas hadeshen. Now again, you do the moving of the ashes before dawn. It's the beginning of the avodah of the next day. And therefore, tzarech, the kohen who's removing the ashes, has to do kiddush yadav v'raglav. Minakiyah, he has to do it again. Minakiyah hamashukah, from the kiyah which is submerged. B'mayim, in the underground canals over there, during the night, so the water is not possible by leaving it overnight. Rav Chia bar Yosef, he says it doesn't have to be submerged the whole night. But given shemasa yom lelayla, once the moment the day turns to night and the kiyah was sunken, was submerged when sunset came the night before, as long as at that point in time it was submerged, that's good enough, and we can bring it up again, and the water does not become puzzle anymore overnight. So he's saying the crucial time was at sunset the night before, but that it has to be submerged. Okay, Chavraya b'shem Rav Yochanan, Mishu Magbiai. Straight after you lift up the kiyah from the underground wells, so the kohen's going to wash his hands and feet with it, humashkiah, you have to put it down again. The water should not become puzzle at dawn. Right? He's saying you don't need that all night, it has to be submerged, but at the beginning of the night and the end of the night. That's what this opinion. At the moment of sunset, sunrise, that's when the kiyah has to be submerged. Masnisa pliga Rav Chia bar Yosef. We have a brayso which argues in Rav Chia bar Yosef because we've learned kiddush yadav v'raglav bayom. You wash your hands in the day, you don't have to do it again at night for the sake of avodah of the night. But if you did it balayla, you did it at night for that time, you have to do it again the next day because they're puzzle at night. They're a Rebbe. But he says, since you washed your hands and feet, I feel asuk ba'avodah, even if you are involved in avodah without taking your mind of it for 3 days. You don't have to wash your hands. If you were conscious of what you were doing for 3 days, that's fine. It's overnight does not puzzle your hands and your legs. Okay, now let's see the view of Rebbe Lazar. Now, he says it's not puzzle overnight. That's only b'shiyarei avodas. When you're carrying on with other avodah without stopping. If you want to start avodah of a new day after you stopped from your avodah of the day before, you need to wash your hands and feet again before you start the avodah. If you're starting a new day, you have to wash your hands and feet. Now, the time when your washing of your hands and feet is puzzle of the kohen, that would also be a similar time where the kiyah water, if it was up, would become puzzle. So according to Rav Chia bar Yosef, it's puzzle the beginning of the night. You got to make sure it's submerged beginning of the night. So at that time, the kiddush yadayim raglaim of the kohen should be disqualified, as it were. But it should be like the kiyah, right? If the kiyah is disqualified at sunset, then any washing hands he's done should also stop at sunset. Now, this is not like Rebbe. Rebbe holds only at dawn it becomes puzzle, and his hands would be sanctifying. His hands wouldn't work at dawn, and the water of the kiyah must be down at dawn, right? And it's also not like Rav Shimon. He holds it doesn't become puzzle overnight at all, and according to him, the kiyah is not puzzle at all at night. So you don't even have to submerge it. Rav Chia bar Yosef he explained that brayso like this: Kiddush yadav v'raglav bayom. If you wash your hands and legs in the day, you do not have to sanctify them again balayla, at night. in order to be involved with the continuation of the avodah, v'shiarei avodas, like emurim, the leftovers of the day. Aval b'tchilas avodas, but the beginning of new avodah, which is not continuation of the day before, like the lifting of the ashes. Now they're not done. Although these avodas are done at night, lekadshon, you still have to wash your hands and legs for them, just like you would have to do it b'yom the next day before you start the avodah of the day. So he's saying if you're going to start doing the Trumas Hadeshen, he says you have to wash your hands for that. Divrei Rebbe. He says since the Kohen's washed his hands and legs, he's carrying on doing the work for 3 days. You don't have to still wash your hands and feet anymore. Lina overnight does not puzzle your hands with when you're carrying on with your work without stop. If you're carrying on non-stop, you can carry on. If you're starting the avodah of a new day after you stopped the day before, then you have to wash your hands and legs again before you start doing the avodah. So it comes out that according to everyone, the time which puzzles Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim, Belina, if it's going to work, if it's going to puzzle, it's the beginning of the night. Right, that's the point, the sunset point, right? And the argument is how is puzzle the Kiddush, and therefore the kiyah has to be submerged at the beginning of the night, like Ruchir Bar Yosef said. Now we explain the Brayso Kunj Rabbi Yochanan. Now he says the Mea Kiyah can become possible at the beginning of the night and the end of the night. Rabbi Yochanan Pasuk Masnisa, he explained the Brayso like this: Kiddush Yada Bragla B'Yom. Look, if you wash your hands in the day, then it should be you don't have to wash them again at night. B'Shiyarei Avodas, if it's continuing the work, right? Although you have to do it at night for new avodah, but not for continuing avodah. If, however, balayla, if you wash them at night, you have to wash them again in the day. Divrei Rebbe, that's Rebbe's view. Rav Shimon Omer, he says, look, you wash your hands and feet, you're doing avodah for 3 days. You don't have to wash your hands again, because your lina overnight does not pass on your hands, but your dime, whether it's the beginning of new work, or you're continuing the old work. So it comes out, Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rebbe, that Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim can become possible at the beginning of the night, right, which is like a new beginning, and at dawn for all avodah, right? And therefore he holds the kiyah has to be submerged, beginning of the night and the end of the night, so the water should not be possible. Chilvai said, overnight doesn't puzzle your Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim, according to Rav Shimon. It doesn't affect the kiyah either. You don't have to submerge it at all. Masnisa Pliga, the Brayso argues Rav Chilvai. We've said if Kiddush Yadav Ragla B'Yom, if you wash your hands in the day, Ein Tzarich LeKadesh, you don't have to do it again by night, B'Layla. But B'Layla, if you did it at night, Tzarich LeKadesh, you have to do it again in the day. Divrei Rebbe. Rav Shimon Omer, he says once you wash your hands, you're doing work for 3 days. You don't have to wash your hands again. Because Lina overnight doesn't pass to your hands. The implication is other things it would. But it seems the water in the kiyah, it sounds like poiseles, it would puzzle.
The nighttime or the sleeping?
It's the night. Lina is going through a period of night. What do you mean? It's not sleeping. The kiyah is not sleeping. No. It's going through a period of night where there is a certain degree of ruach ra, whatever it is. Talmidai Rav Yochanan M'Shem Chilvai, they learnt in the name of Chilvai. This is how you explain the Brayso. Kiddush Yadav Raglav. If he washes his hands and feet, Rav Shimon says he can do avodah for 3 days and doesn't have to wash them again. Lina does not puzzle your hands. So the implication is the kiyah would become puzzle overnight. That's only if it wasn't submerged the moment it went from the moment at sunset, right, beginning of the night. But if it was submerged at that time, even if it was in the bar, right, even if it was outside the bar the rest of the night, and even at the time of dawn, it doesn't matter. So the Brayso doesn't go against Chilvai. The Brayso which says the water will become possible belina, that's only if the water was not submerged at the beginning of the night. Chilvai, who said the water doesn't become possible belina, he meant the rest of the night, or at dawn. but it seems that we're saying at the beginning of the night, that would be a time that would puzzle. Okay, now we said in our Mishnah, in the beginning, the Kohen comes near with 4 amas. The first one who comes nearest to the area of the ashes within the 4 amas, he can do the removal of the ashes. Now, where is this 4 amas? What does the Mishnah mean? The one who got there first within 4 amas, he can remove the ashes. Does it mean B'toch Arba amas the kevesh, within 4 amas close to the ramp? Or does it mean B'toch Arba amas the mizbech, 4 amas at the top of the mizbech, at the top of the ramp? Mimad taninan, from that which we learned, Masa Shayu Shnayim, that there were 2 Kohanim, Shavin Razim Oilin Bakevesh, running up the ramp. Right? They're pushing each other. Hadar Amra, this tells me that the one within the 4 amas gets it. That means B'toch Arba amas the mizbeach, the first one to get within 4 amas of the mizbeach. Right? They're running up the ramp. And we don't know who's going to remove the ashes. So the determining factor is the one who's closest to the mizbeach. Oh, Rosifun, the first one who gets there within 4 amas mizbeach, Zacha, he is inquiring. Ma'u Hatzbiu. Now they would all put out their fingers. What does that mean? Hatziu Esba, bring out a finger, and the guy would go around counting the fingers. Yeah, he had a number in his head, and when he reached that number, that would be the person. Hatziu Achas. If he took out 1 finger, Moinin Lai Shtayim. Moinin Lai, they count it for 1. Shtayim, if he took out 2, Moinin Lai, we count it for 2. Shalosh did 3, Moinin Lai, we don't include him if he put 3 fingers down. Now, what does it mean? Mao Ein Moinin. What do you mean we don't include it? Well, if one put out 3 fingers, kolika, we just disregard him. Or maybe we don't count the extra one. And then the Gemara says, what about Arba? He put out 4 fingers. They would hit him with a strap or bottle of pious, and you've got to go and start the lottery again. You don't put out your thumb in our mind because the cheats. Right? They'll see the number's going to finish near them, and one nearby, I'll put out an extra thumb and then try and get counted in. Right? Now, Ein Oimim Mimi. We don't say where to start the lottery from in the Mikdash, right? Where he's going to start counting from. He would lift up the hat of one of them, and they knew the lottery started from them. Now, maybe you should worry. You know where it's going to start. Maybe he'll cheat and think in his mind, now my friend is at number 10. Maybe I'll make sure I count 10. It says, now they didn't stand in a straight line. They stood in a wavy diagram, so you couldn't really work out where the numbers would end up. So what direction did the guy walk around? Liyamin, of the right of the Kohen where he's starting from, or his to the left. That which you learn, the one who has success, you tell the one on your right. You can also be involved in this. You can take the coals, the pan with the coals. You go to the right. So the Kohen who gets it, the Keteres, tells the Kohen on his right, because he was counted after the one on his right. This is how you explain the Brisa. He goes to the left, and even so, the one who marries to take the mincha, Zacha, he gives it and gives it over as well, a bit of support. He has help from the one Liyamin, the one on his right. Because Mutav Shaz Yizaka Misha Arba Lava Pashnei Puppies. It's better, look, the one who's been counted twice in the lottery, he should have a chance. If I'm doing it, he can join me. But at least he's been counted twice. The guy on the other side of me has only been counted once. So it's better to give to someone who's been counted twice rather than one's counted once. So Mutav Shiyizaka and Misha Arba Lava Pashnei Puppies. We have a story, but someone who was involved running on the ramp, he got there before. He took a knife, and he dug it into the heart of the one who won. Reb Tzadok said, and he said to them, listen, my brothers. It says, when you find a corpse, and they to see which city was responsible for this person to die. Where are we going to start learning? Where are we going to measure from, rather? From the Heicha? Where do we measure for the dead person that we found in Azoros? Sharon Kalam Bachin, they all started crying. Adinon Asikin Bivchia, while they were busy crying. Nechmas Aviv Shalai, the father of the child came along. Amalei said, my child, I know I'll your forgiveness. The child is not dead yet. He's not defiled the knife, as it were. The knife is not tameh. They were very more severe about the tumah aspect than the murder. So the father said, hurry, take the knife out to save it from becoming tameh. Now, the Brisa says this was said liganai. This is pretty bad stuff. That the importance of them, they didn't care about murder and they worried about the knife, right? This is pretty bad. That the Tumas HaKeli was important in their eyes. Now, there were 4 lotteries every day. Why they had 4 times they had to do this? Why not do them all in one go? They were done on 4 separate occasions during the day to make it, to publicize it. Now the Cohen who cleaned out the inner Mizbeach, the ash from the inner Yachol, he can remove the ash from the menorah afterwards. So why did they do the Avodah 2 separate Kohanim? Again to publicize it. Taman Taninan, we've learnt in Tamid, the one who cleaned out the menorah, he prepared the 5 neiros into various keli, and then he left the other thing on the keli on the step, the second step. But yes, he leaves the heichal, and then when he does later on, he does the other 2. He takes the keli he had before from the second step. Yes, he leaves the heichal. Why is he coming in to do this cleaning out process? Shnei pamim, 2 occasions, 5 and 2. Why are we splitting them up? Ella, again to publicize it, right? To publicize it, he went in on 2 occasions, right? Back for people hear about it. Some say this must be from the Torah. We make a gap in the avodah of the neiros to publicize it. Rashi learns it's only a rabbinical thing. Now, Rosh Ben Lakish Amar, he says, how can he tell me that to break into 2 steps is because it's Dvar Torah? It says Babaika. The Torah used these 2 expressions with Yivas and Eretz, so we know Yaktuel is going to be done on 2 occasions. Right? That's why it's a pasuk. What does Yechon do? Which implies that in a Torah you have to divide it. What does he do with this? So Rav Yechon doesn't dash in the pasuk you should divide into 2. He comes to tell you that close to the time of doing the neiros, you could bring the ketores. There's no source for dividing the hatava into 2. Why does he do this? The reason is to make it public. He says the pasuk is used for something else. Okay, we carry on a bit more, yeah? Apayis Hasheni, the second lottery, Mizorek, Medashin, who's the one who's sprinkling the blood of the Tamid, who's cleaning out the Mizbeach, Medashin, who's cleaning out the menorah, who's taking the limbs of the Tamid and putting them on the ramp, Harosh Ragel, taking the head and the back right leg of the Tamid was done through 1 Kohen. The 2 forelegs was the second Kohen. The third Kohen takes Aikas the tail. Ragel, the back left leg, is also that Kohen, number 3. The 4th Kohen takes the Chazer, which is the chest, Vagera on the neck, Ushtel Zafonis, and the 2 flanks. They are with a 5th Kohen. Vakravayim, the stomach, is the 6th Kohen. Another 3 Kohenim take the flour offerings and the wine. Vahasailas, and the flour offering, which is coming from Kabbalah Tamid, is with another Kohen. Another Kohen is the Chavitin, is the Minchas Kohen Gadol, which is made from flour and oil on a pan. And the 3rd Kohen is a yain, the wine, for pouring with the Keves Tamid. And totally you have Shloshas Kohanim, 13 Kohanim Zachin Bai. You have 13 Kohanim merit to do this mitzvah. Right? So the second lottery, who's shechting, who's sprinkling, who's cleaning them in a mizbeach, who's doing the menorah. The 6 involves with the Tamid, and 3 additional ones for the flour offering, the chavitin, and for the wine. He says the limbs of the Tamid don't go according to the order that the Tanna Kama said, but the way they brought it was the way the animal normally walked. Where do we know you have to clean out the inner mizbeach? You have to clean out the outer mizbeach, right? You have to clean out you clean out the inner mizbeach to the room of the ashes, I don't need to tell it to you, if to fix a place for leaving this, like the crop of the bird, yeah? Next to the Mizbeach in an area where the Torah says where you leave the ashes, then you can't tell me, it says it says you can't do it anywhere. The Kohen has to throw it on Mizbeach. And I don't have to tell you, I don't need to learn it from Trumas Hadeshen. So if that's the case, the Yim L'Lamedcha, if it's to tell you Shinasid Mizracha, you want the crop, is that what they call it? The Zefek, the crop of the bird. You want to put it Mizracha Shal Kevish on the east side of the Mizbeach, you can't do that. Vakasiv, it says Kedma, to the east. You're going to tell me, it's telling me you should leave it on the east side of the ramp. He says, no, Afu Dash, we've already dashed in this Exer Shav Eitzal Mizbeach, with the crop and so on. Eitzal Mizbeach. So Ma Khan, and so just like here, the Zefek, you should leave it Mizracha Shel Kevesh, so the east of the ramp of the Mizbeach. Afkan, so also the Trumas Hadeshen that you've separated these ashes, leave it Mizracha Shel Kevesh on the east side of the ramp. Right, so why does it say Al Mokam Hadeshen? We know it's on the east side of the ramp. It's telling you there's another ashes, which is the ashes of the inner Mizbeach. You should remove it and leave it next to the big outer Mizbeach, right, where you put the crop and the feathers and so on of the birds, of the other birds. So we brought you a sauce for cleaning out the inner Mizbeach. Now, what is a source of this ashes? You can't get benefit from it. How do I know you can't get benefit from it? It says you take the pan so a tire place, Shefer Hadeshen. Makom tire is extra. It's obviously a tire place, but it's telling me Shihei Mekaimai tire. The area of it is tire means separate, right? Separate from you. So basically, that area of Shefer Hadeshen, where all the ashes go, you can't use it to get any benefit. Now we're going to bring another source about removing the inner Mizbeach, cleaning out the inner Mizbeach and getting benefit from the ashes. We bring a source that the Deshen is Asabana, Rav Zeira, Shem Rav Laza, Le'ama Kain. We never said the previous drasha that you can't get Ana, Ella, this is what it should be. Menayin L'Dishen Mizbeach Achid side. How do you know the cleaning out the outer Mizbeach Shu Asabana, you can't get benefit? Talmud Lema, that's why it says, the bird stuff that you remove from the Olas Ha'of, and you throw it. Yeah, you have to throw it like 30 amas it was, right? You're standing on the top of the Mizbeach, you're throwing it down right next to the end of the ramp, right? And it says you throw it El Mokem Adeshen, to that area next to the Deshen, as we said, and the words are extra. It's telling you Shema Komo La'olam, that the area of the Deshen shall be La'olam forever, that you can never remove it and use it for yourself, even after it's been put there. It's Asa Bahanoah forever, right? Omenayin, the dish of Mizbeach Hapnimi. How do you clean out the inner Mizbeach? It says with the sprinkling of the blood of the golden Mizbeach on Avodas Yom Kippur, v'hiza alav, you'll sprinkle on it from the blood. You got the blood of the par, the blood of the sire, and with the Keteris every day it says v'hiktir alav. So just like alav with the sprinkling of the par and the sire of Yom Kippur, it tells me Azaya that the sprinkling has to be done, but on the actual part of the Mizbeach, on the Mizbeach itself, in a clean place where it moves the coals out of the way, right? So the alav with the Keteres, the Ketara has to be begufai on the main part of the Mizbeach in a clean area, right, from the old ash and the coal which are there. So basically you have to remove the deshen every day so you can put the Keteres on the Mizbeach when it's clean from ash. And you can't get benefit from it. How do I know that the inner Mizbeach you can't get benefit? How do you know the inner Mizbeach you can't get benefit? With Mizbeach if you can't get benefit from the outer Mizbeach, like how much more so you can't get benefit from the inner Mizbeach? Rav Zeira, b'shem Rav Chanina, he said, Keteres, which is Keteres which got a bit burnt. Shakavas, and it's like gone out a bit, humama, and then it's like a blemished carbon. You don't have to go and put it back on the fire. You can remove it. Afilu bikrotin, even if you got some sort of granules left, whole granules of keteres. Right now, even though you should put back parts of the carbon which fell off if it wasn't burned properly to carry on the burning, keteres we don't say that. She'en kasiv ikul. There's no din of ikul of complete burning right? Doesn't have to be completely burnt. Ella, only with an animal, on the Mizbeach on the outer Mizbeach. With Ketayas Mizbeach on the inner Mizbeach, we don't find this rule. So even though it's not completely burnt, it's got catch fire a bit, caught fire a bit, that's fine, you've done your obligation. Pesila, a wick of an air, shekavas, again, which went out, tzricha, you need to sort of clean out the area, take out the wick because it's considered like deshen, like ash. Now when do you take it out? Do you do it miyad, as soon as it goes out? It could be there's still sparks burning there. Talmida de Lulaini, Armin, they said mayata. If you're going to say, wait a minute, surely it has to cool down a bit before you remove it. If you're going to remove it while there's still sparks there, I mean, it's like you're putting it out with your hands. That's definitely forbidden. Now, what about oil that was left in the menorah? Shemen mashi tzarch dishon. What about oil that was left in the menorah? When you're cleaning out the menorah, do you have to remove all the oil that was left from the day before? Or you can just leave it there? Mil Seder Shmuel, Barav Yitzchak Amra, he said, we learned from him, Shemen tzarch dishon. That oil does need to be removed. Okay, Rabbi, so we'll carry on with this tomorrow, okay? We'll carry on tomorrow.